Blessings, everyone. It's Jules, and this is the Raise Your Vibration Summit. And I am just so honored to have Dr. Debra with us. I met Debra at a podcasting event, I think in 2019-ish.
Yeah. Yeah. Pre-COVID issues. I think we were all there when COVID was like shutting down.
That was the craziest event. That was just a crazy time to think back to that.
Yeah.
And since then, I've interviewed you one other time, and it was an awesome interview. So I'm excited to see where this goes. So I'm just going to turn it over to you and let you introduce yourself. And then I know we have some exciting things to talk about.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, Jules. This is always so much fun having a conversation with you. So I have been a integrative healthcare practitioner for 20-ish years, 22, I think, 23, somewhere around there. Graduated as a traditional nurse practitioner, conventional medicine, learned very rapidly that that wasn't my space. Although I loved helping women, that was my passion. I worked in a population of people that started teaching me about natural medicine. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have so much more to learn. And so I went on to become a naturopathic doctor and have many other degrees after that, just because I'm a lifelong learner. I love to learn and it's exciting as times change so much. It's always fun to learn new things. So I own an integrative medical practice in Wisconsin called Serenity Healthcare Center, where we work with people from an anti-aging perspective, people who are just trying to stay in the game as long as they can, be the best that they can. And then we also work with a lot of chronically ill people, people who've been to see 50 to 100 doctors and people can't figure out quite what's wrong with them. And they come to us and it doesn't take us very long to figure out exactly what's happening and help them repair and regain their life again.
Oh, that's so exciting and so needed, right? I do see
Yeah.
that all of our healthcare is going to start to shift over in the direction that you're already in. So it's so
Mhm.
nice to know that people have choice in how they're going to do this.
Mhm.
So we were talking a little before we got on the interview about kind of some different ways that we can hold consciousness outside of our programming
Mhm.
and different things that we can do. And I'm going to kind of turn it back over to you because you immediately came up with something and I don't know much about it. So I'm really excited to go into a conversation around it.
Yeah, awesome. Like everybody else, we use the traditional tools that we have at home, the visualization, the auditory, the headsets, the apps, the meditation, all of that is amazing, right? But more recently, we've been blessed with a tool that's legal that we can use on a daily basis. As we were talking, some of the people that you work with and that listen do the journeys and go places to do these things. However, one of the biggest problems we have is when we come back into our normal everyday life. How do we hold that consciousness when things are going all around us crazy, right? The world's falling apart. This person's not showing up for work. This one's having a meltdown. This one's having a crisis because it happens. Everybody around us has issues, and we're still trying to stay in that solid, strong place. And it becomes very hard. We're like that big oak tree that's trying not to bend with every complication. So the use of daily low dose ketamine has become a powerful tool for us to do that now. And for many people who've gone on journeys, psychedelic journeys or regular journeys with shamans or naturopaths in the past, they may understand using high dose ketamine for some of these experiences, but you can actually take a low dose of ketamine and use it every single day to keep yourself more even, more calm, and maintain that consciousness that you've learned how to do in just a soul setting. And it's very easy. You're not going to be in this out of body experience. So you'll still be able to function on a day-to-day basis using low dose ketamine, which is really exciting today.
So the first question I'm having is what exactly is ketamine?
Mhm. So ketamine is known as an anesthetic. So we use it to anesthetize people. For instance, if you were going to have a colonoscopy and they put you to sleep, they don't put you out completely. They use something that we call conscious sedation. So you're kind of awake, but you're not really. And that's one of the drugs they use is ketamine. So in an IV fashion in high doses, we can put you to a place where you're going to have a nice little rest and you're not going to remember anything when you wake up. In this state, we're using it in a sublingual, what we call troche. Some people might use it in a liquid, but I would recommend a troche over a liquid. And it just is going to dissolve underneath the tongue. And you can use it anywhere from a half a milligram up to about 120 milligrams total in a day, so that you're not ever completely out. Certainly, the higher dose that you use might put you a little bit more in a relaxation state and put you to sleep. But it's not going to be like if we were giving it via an IV and putting you to sleep for a procedure.
Is it made from a plant or is it synthetic?
It is made from a plant originally. Most of all of our drugs are plant derived at some place, and then they extract and pull out one main ingredient or two main ingredients that they can then make into a synthetic source so that they can mass produce it into a larger quantity.
And I'm just listening. It's me because I don't know it, but I always listen to what everybody else is asking too. Are there side
Mhm.
effects?
There really is not side effects, which is the amazing thing about ketamine. So, ketamine is getting a lot of excitement in the pain world right now because it's helping people with chronic pain and helping to get people off of narcotics, which we all know really don't help the pain anyway. They just mask it and put you into this loopy state. But ketamine actually can resolve the pain. So, it's getting a lot of use in pain clinics. And the only side effect really becomes around dosing. If you dose it too high, you're going to put somebody to sleep. If you're dosing it by IV, you could have a little bit more of a complication because if you're giving somebody too much and they're kind of like that one drink drunk, they might be out for several hours in your office. But in a low dose that you're using on a daily basis, there really are no side effects to it, which is amazing. It's not addicting. You can't get dependent on it. You might get used to the dosing and not get the same experience that you had for a little while. But the great thing about it is you stop for 4 or 5 days and that dose dependency goes back down to where it was before. And then you go right back to using the same dose that you were using before. So it's a really flexible drug to use in cases like this.
I love that. Okay, so let's go into some of the things that it's doing for you. Is it altering the brain chemistry? Like, how is it helping? Obviously, it's helping kind of relax, you said, or
Yeah.
into that more mellow state. Does it actually? I mean, well, I'll let you just. I think you know what I'm asking, so I'm just going to let
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. The one amazing thing about low dose ketamine like this is it does alter our brain waves and it puts us more into that alpha brain state. So, people who struggle with attention deficit or focus and concentration in that low dose, maybe 1 to 10 milligrams in a day time frame, 24-hour time frame, it can really help people focus and concentrate where they no longer need to use things like Adderall anymore because those come with a whole bunch of side effects that people don't like anyway. But using this is actually changing the brainwave itself so that the brain synapses are connecting the way they're supposed to, and people can focus and concentrate the way they should have been able to do all along. Now, if we give higher doses, maybe 90, 100, 120 milligrams, that might put you more into that deep delta sleep state where you're really experiencing more of that out of body experience, but you're getting that deep restorative sleep as well. So, depending on dosing, you can really kind of move your brain into those different brain waves that you want to do. And so, for instance, you may decide to use 1 or 2 milligrams in the morning while you're functioning at work. But then when you come home at night, maybe you're taking 40 or 50 milligrams to just kind of put you out, get you into that nice restorative sleep, wake up feeling good, and life is amazing. And you can really manipulate that dose very easily with that sublingual troche.
I love that. So I'm as you were speaking, I was kind of just feeling into what it's doing. And I
Mhm,
also saw just keeping the cortisol levels down, overall
mhm.
stress of life, and then what that does for the body, for the mind, and all the different spaces. But the part that I feel like I would want to know afterwards is, it's always the goal to not have to do something forever. So what
Correct.
would you introduce to support somebody and being able to maximize this with the goal of eventually being able to do it on their own?
So I would pair it with a lot of the devices that you recommend already and things that we can do at home, right? Like Brain Tap, for instance, it's an easy device you can use at home, relatively inexpensive, audio, visual. Use that meditation, use some of that uh, deep, what's the word I'm looking for? Deeper than meditation, like transcendental meditation, maybe really going into that deeper piece. The other thing that I love about ketamine is it's helping us get through the traumas in our lives. We've all had trauma, right? And some of it we remember, some of it we don't remember. And so when you're going on this journey with ketamine, much like you would journey with a shaman and using psychedelics and other things like that, you can actually work through that trauma. And I really believe that once we work through that subconscious trauma, is when we can really elevate our brains. We can elevate ourselves. We stop that repetitive negative thought in our brain. Sometimes it's happening clearly because we don't recognize where the trauma came from in the first place because we have no memory of that trauma. And ketamine allows you to get past that. Sometimes, unfortunately, people will relive the trauma for the first time in their lives, and that typically will happen with higher dose ketamine or if somebody's using IV ketamine. And then you want to have a therapist or a support person that you trust with you if you're trying to do things like that, because you don't want to wake up and have this traumatic experience for the first time all by yourself. But in the low dose, it doesn't come on that abruptly. So it's easier to navigate for you.
I love this. So obviously this is something that you're working with your clients, we'll say.
Mhm.
And so if somebody came to you and that was something that you were going to give them, do you give it to them like with a package of, it's like, I'm just curious of how you would know, because I can hear people asking, it's like, okay, this is something I would want to try, but I don't live in Wisconsin. So
Mhm.
what would you suggest for that person?
Yeah. So in every state, ketamine is still considered a controlled substance. So you would want to find somebody who's licensed in your state that can prescribe ketamine for you. And there are a lot of different ketamine clinics around. There are some that are strictly online. They don't offer a lot of that hand holding support, but you can get the prescription from them very easily. And then I would tier it with finding somebody who has a program that can help you navigate this change and this challenge. And as a matter of fact, I have a colleague that's putting together a program exactly like this right now for people all around the world, because we understand the benefits of ketamine, but we also understand the benefits of having somebody there with you to help you navigate the experiences that come up and learning how to process some of those that happen, right? We need somebody there. So when we do it in our office, we typically will do it together. Your first dose, we ask that you do with somebody you trust in your house. Don't do it and then go off to work, right? Do it when you're at home. Do it when you don't really have anything going on for the rest of the day. Small dose, you're probably not going to see a big event from, but if you're somebody who has a big tolerance to things, like maybe 3 drinks and you're still not feeling anything, we wouldn't start at a low dose like a 1 milligram. We'd start closer at maybe like a 10 or a 15 milligram for that person. So finding the right dose is key. And then navigating that dose and titrating that dose according to how you feel and the experience that you're getting, and what is the feeling that you're looking for. Are you just looking for something to soothe and calm and not really feel much of a difference? Okay, low dose, 1, 2, 3 milligrams is is going to be great for you. If you have a stronger vibration, you need to have a little bit more of that higher consciousness, maybe a little bit of that out of body experience for you. You're probably going to want something like 10, 15 milligrams divided a couple of times in the day. You're going to get that first initial quote unquote high feeling or out of body experience pretty rapidly within about 30 minutes of taking the medication. And then after that, it'll kind of settle down and things will be calmer. And then you'll have a different experience. So learning what that experience is that you like is going to be key. And having somebody there that can help you, maybe jot notes down for you while you're experiencing that is really beneficial as well, because you may not remember everything that you felt or everything you said.
Okay, this is so interesting to me because as you're talking, if we didn't know what we were talking about, I would think we're talking about a psychedelic. So it's so
Mhm.
interesting. So it does it have very similar properties to a psychedelic?
Yes, very similar properties to that. And maybe not as intense as a traditional psychedelic, a little bit lower level for somebody who maybe isn't quite ready to get into a psychedelic. Low dose ketamine is very helpful for that. Somebody who likes the experience of a psychedelic and would like to be able to do it on a daily basis, this would be a great replacement for that psychedelic then.
Like a lot of people are starting to explore microdosing of, let's
Mhm.
say, mushrooms, right?
Yeah.
Um, that what is it? Psilocybin? Is that what it's?
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah. So is it doing kind of a similar thing with the brain? Because I know one of the benefits of psilocybin is that it starts to reconnect different pathways in the brain so that you can kind of get past those looping cycles or
Mhm.
those the same thought, whatever, you know what we're when we say
Yes.
cycles, everybody knows what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So we have to
Mhm.
identify, everybody knows where they're looping. So is this doing a similar thing?
It is. It is rewiring that brain so that you can get past those events. The difference is we don't have to worry about allergy. Like with mushrooms, we have to be careful with people who might have a fungal allergy or have a fungal overgrowth in their body. They may not know. Maybe they're sensitive to molds and things like that. And so with this, we don't have to worry about that. With mushrooms, we do have to be a little cautious about that. The other thing with ketamine is it's very clean. We don't have to worry about where it's coming from, where it was grown, who processed it, any of those kinds of things. It's typically compounded from what we call a compounding pharmacy. Everybody probably knows what those are. They're specialty pharmacies that can make different drugs that are on the market that aren't commercially available, but they can make that in any single dose that we want them to, which is really nice. So we don't have to worry about, everybody having to have the same dose, or we're only limited to X. Like we could literally take this dose down to a 0.025 milligram dose if we wanted to, or take it up as high as 400 or 500 milligrams in an oral capsule. So there's a very wide variety of it. And so it is nice to use that way. But yes, the brain reconnection is huge. And we're doing the exact same thing.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so the next thing I'm hearing is, okay, I want to try this. I'm going to find
Mhm.
somebody that I can get it from, and then I'm going to find somebody that can support me in it. But just on my daily, every day, and I'm doing it, what are some tools to get the most out of it? So now they have the support, they're taking it daily, but they want maybe a tool. So you're talking about the headset. I'm getting more
Mhm.
of like a tool of like actively consciously participating in what's happening.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. So, I would say if you're looking at using this as a tool for something like that, um, I'm getting meditation again. That's what I'm getting, like that meditative state. And I think with ketamine, you tend to be in that meditative state on a regular basis when you're taking it. The key really is titration of this. Everybody's dose is going to be different, just like psychedelics. It's, what's good for you is not going to be the same for me. And that slow dose titration, and being conscious. And I would say if somebody could start ketamine like on a weekend where they didn't have anything going on, or like a 2 to 3 day stint, even if though maybe your weekend is the middle of the week. You would want to take like 2 to 3 days and really just kind of sit with what you're experiencing, what you're feeling. Maybe for you, titration is increasing the dose every 2 hours versus every 4 hours. Or maybe once you take a certain dose, now you find that experience that you're having is lasting 4 or 5 hours instead of 30 minutes to an hour. And really just sit journaling how you're feeling, what you're experiencing, what you're going through. Because then when you're done with that 2 or 3 day event, you could go back and read your journal and you could see, what did I experience? What did I feel? What came up for me? Was it frightening? Was it traumatic? Was it happy? Did I go to a dark place? Did I relive a childhood dream? I think that's important, because I think if we just start it and then run off to our busy day, we're not going to pay attention to what we're actually feeling.
Yeah, I was kind of feeling that too. I love that would be like the perfect way to start.
Hmm.
And when you have those kind of things come up, you're already aware of it, right? And
Yes.
kind
Hmm.
of that's where you can really master the rewiring of all of
Hmm.
those. This is really kind of fun. See, I dig this.
Yeah.
So whether we're doing it through psychedelics, ketamine, frequency, it's
Hmm.
all about moving outside the looping cycles, right? And
Yeah.
what we're all about here.
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah, we get stuck in those loop cycles, and it's harder and harder to get out of, I think, sometimes, depending on what we're looping on. And it's easier for everybody else to engage in that looping cycle. So if we can disengage and step away, then it helps everybody else around us to disengage in that looping cycle as well.
I completely agree with that. I think it's actually really exciting, and I feel more and more people are have the awareness that they're in
Mhm.
the leaping cycles, and now they're actively looking for ways to break that because
Mhm.
it's a choice at that point, right? And
Right.
and and most people, and I mean, a shout out to all the people that are listening, they're in a place in their lives where they're not looking for the magic pill. They're not looking for that magic wand. They are looking for tools to
Mhm.
actively participate in their own ascension, and they're willing to put the work in. And so I just want to applaud and honor everyone that is in that space, because you're going to go so far, because look at all these amazing tools that we have to support you in doing that.
Yeah,
Yay.
I know, right?
Well,
Finally.
it's so relaxing. It's just like, because there for such a long time we've been in the mentality of just give me a pill and fix me.
Mhm.
And I know you know all about that with your everything
Mhm.
you do. Is there anything that you feel like you'd like to talk about that we haven't got to yet? Like that I haven't asked the question and you feel like it's important to say?
I think the important thing about using low dose ketamine is to have that open mind and just be willing to let things happen. I was so impressed with the literature on ketamine and what it does for people with chronic pain too. I know this isn't necessarily your audience, but we all know people who suffer from pain. And when you hear stories of people literally using low dose at home ketamine for 3 days and their chronic pain they've had for 20 years is completely resolved, it is such a lifesaver for people. And so whether you suffer from, chronic migraines or chronic muscle tension or pain like that, ketamine is a great alternative to walking around in that state. And I think we forget that our body pain gets us started in that looping cycle too. Sometimes it's easy to disconnect from it, but then if we disconnect from the pain, we disconnect from our body. And that's never a great place for us to be. So, if ketamine allows us to reconnect our body and our mind and our brain rewiring, what an amazing path for us to be able to take to just level up our consciousness and who we are as a being and who we are as a planet in the world, right?
I mean, gosh, I'm getting full body chills. That's what it's all about is, when we're using a tool like this to ascend the body, the mind, can reconnect to that intelligence or spirit, however you
Mhm.
want to say, then we're doing it right. It's a
Yeah.
when we're doing it to escape reality and not wanting
Mhm.
to look at it and just pretending and, all of that,
Mhm.
okay, probably not gonna work, right? But
Mhm.
if we're doing it in this way, what an amazing tool. And I know there are people that are listening to this that do have chronic pain. And so I hope
Mhm.
you're really listening and because it's not about forever. It's about getting to a frequency and a state of consciousness where you're not experiencing it anymore. And at that
Mhm.
point, you can consciously choose what's next. But this is a
Mhm.
great stepping stone to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a wonderful tool. And rarely do you have people have reactions to it. You rarely see somebody who's allergic to it. It just is, it's such a clean product that we don't see a lot of those complications with it. So that's the wonderful thing of ketamine as well, is it could be right for anyone. The other thing I would say about ketamine that we don't often think of, and we would rarely ever, if ever, think about using mushrooms for children. Ketamine can be used for children and has been used successfully for teenagers and 9, 10, 12, 13-year olds who suffer from depression and suicidal thoughts. And within 3 to 7 days, complete resolution of their suicidal thoughts. And that's an amazing tool because we don't have anything else on the market like that that doesn't increase their suicidal thoughts in many occasions. So this is a really great tool. And that just shows us how safe it actually is. But depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, almost all gone pretty quickly with low dose ketamine.
I love it. And just with anything else, and I'm sure you do this as well, and people that are listening, always go inside and ask your body, like, is this something that would benefit my body, my mind, my
Mhm.
consciousness, and ascending into moving into a higher frequency so that I can start to experience my highest potential,
Yeah.
right? And the easy way that you can do that, I'm sure you do this a lot, is the muscle testing or
Mhm.
the swaying of the body. And
Yeah.
don't ever make your decision from a place of I want this or I don't want this. It's ask your body. And if your body says yes, then listen because it
Mhm.
knows over any of the programming. And I just don't like people making decisions based in emotion or trying to avoid an emotion. And so having somebody like you being able to help somebody in that way, I think is amazing. But in this conversation, I just think it's important to come back to this place of yes, this is an amazing thing, but make
Mhm.
sure it's right for you before you take action.
Yeah, absolutely. Just always check in with yourself on how you're feeling. If your gut's saying yes, great. If it's saying no, then it may not be no forever. It may just be not now, and that's okay.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to say it all sounds amazing. And there's a couple people in my life that I may even suggest looking into it, right? And one of them is
Mhm.
actually a younger, I think he's 18 or something. And it's always the antidepressants and the ADHD stuff. And it's all
Mhm.
this, ooh, right? But
Yeah.
this is like an alternative that I feel like a lot of people could turn to that is going to be a lot healthier and probably more effective.
Much more effective. Yes, I would agree with that.
Well, Deborah, this has been so amazing. I loved this because I don't know anything about this and I love learning new things. And I really feel like I learned a lot and it's sparked my interest enough that I'm going to do a little research on it as well.
Wonderful. I'm glad I could help encourage you and your listeners. I mean, it's all about sparking interest and then learning more and seeing if it's right for you.
Exactly. Well, we really appreciate you bringing the knowledge and your wisdom. And I know that, and you do take the holistic approach, which is so beautiful and so needed. And so, if somebody wanted to possibly learn about this program that you have coming up, or if
Mhm.
there's something, place you'd want to direct them, if they have wanna connect to you, I don't know if you do
Yeah.
virtual?
We do virtual, yes. So if you want to connect with me on our website, serenityhealthcarecenter.com, you can email us at info@serenityhealthcarecenter.com and just let us know what we can help you with. We'll reach out. We also have our Serenity Healthcare Center Facebook page, and you can contact us there as well. And I'm happy to help answer any questions and let you know what's coming up in our world as well.
How exciting. Oh my gosh, full body chills again. I hope that everybody will go explore this and connect with Deborah, and she just has so much wisdom to share with the world, and I appreciate you for bringing your genius and sharing it with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Bye, everyone.